Hey there, today I am surprised and very happy to be talking about one of my favorite mutants in the Marvel Universe, and another one I've been excited to see hit the table to bring my X-Men that much closer to the classic 90s roster. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. So a character that I didn't dare really hope for from the mutant side is Magik, with so many other and more popular mutants not having seen the table yet, like one of my other mutant top 3s in Nightcrawler. So her addition is very welcome, and with her today we also have Rogue, who I'm a decent fan of, but her stats are actually really solid. But before I talk about all of that, I want to go ahead and talk about the guild sponsor, TRex Games. They have some great prices for the MCP products in their line. Their pre-order prices take 20% off of retail. And then you can use the code TRITEXGGCP5 at checkout for an additional 5% off for a grand total of 25%, which is solid. Especially with all of these upcoming releases from Hulkbuster to the entire Convocation wave. Additionally, with the UK getting releases a good bit before the US at the moment because of the backed up shipping lanes, I feel like it is worth mentioning again that if there is a release or two that you don't want to wait on, like Blade or Dormammu, they are already out in the UK, while we don't even have an ETA for the US until, fingers crossed, November? So if you want to support this channel, get a solid discount, and get some stuff early, check them out. It's also thanks to TRex that I'm able to do a monthly giveaway. All you need to do to enter is to be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment on a video that comes out in that month. And now, with that said, let's talk about Rogue, or Anne-Marie LeBeau, since apparently this version of her is married to Remy. She has 6 stamina, moves medium, is size 2 for 4 threat. She has 4 physical defense and a 3 for her energy and mystic. Her first attack, Absorbing Strike, can either be physical or energy, and it has a range of 2, strength of 5 for no cost. Additionally, it will gain her power equal to the damage dealt, and on a wild, the attack gains sap power, which lets you take 1 power from the target for each wild in the attack roll before damage is dealt. Then Rogue will gain that much power. So, a really solid builder that has some damage type flexibility, and the chance to get even more power from the sap. Her second attack isn't as flexible as it's only physical, but it also has a range of 2, strength of 7 for 3 power. And after the attack is resolved, you can toss the target character short as long as they are size 4 or less. So this will remove anyone but Dormammu from a point, push through a bit of extra damage, and so on. She also has a suite of superpowers. First up is Charge. It costs 2 and an action, but in exchange she gets to make a move action followed by an attack action, and it can only be used once per turn. This is good. If you have played a game at this point, you know how good it is. It is action economy, and since she only has attacks and powers that work at range 2, she needed some help getting into the fight. And with this, she has it. Her second active power is Marvelous Strength. It costs 3 and lets her choose an interactive terrain feature of size 4 or less and within 2 and toss it medium. Like most other throws, it is only once per turn. This throw is just above average with its ability to hurl the dump trucks of the world, but some extra damage output opportunity is never a bad thing to see on a character. Then finally we have the much wordier Mutant Absorption. For 2 power, it says to choose an enemy character within range 2 of this character. You then roll 5 dice. The chosen character will lose power equal to the number of crit, wild, and hit results in those 5 dice. If the chosen character would lose more power than it has, it starts to suffer damage for each power it would not lose. The chosen character does not gain power for damage suffered that way, and this superpower can also only be used once per turn. So this is a pretty cool ability to staple onto Rogue to showcase her power without her having a chance to become an absolute nightmare balance-wise. With 5 dice you get an average of 2.5 successful results, so on average you are at least losing 2 power to make your opponent lose 2 power, and if you don't need that power but your opponent does, it's well worth the cost. And if Rogue ends up next to a character who is tapped out on power, this is kind of like a free punch that they can't defend against. So if you have the power to spend, this isn't a bad place to spend it. As for her innate powers, her Kree mutant physiology lets her reduce damage from an enemy effect by 1 to a minimum of 1, and she has the flight keyword along with being immune to the poison special condition. But before I go any further, I do want to mention that there are no changes on her injured side. Rogue is a very straightforward character, and because of that, she should be pretty easy to play and will do good at what she is meant to. She is a brawler, plain and simple. She will get into the fight pretty effectively with a charge and try to stay there the entire game. She has pretty durable frame with 6 stamina on each side, high physical defense, and damage reduction. And she can brawl pretty effectively with 2 powers that have a chance of dealing damage, a character throw on her spender, which for 3 power and 7 dice is already a pretty solid starting place. The problem Rogue will most likely have is power generation. Her builder should be pretty good for it with the ability to pick a weaker defense stat and the stat power, but Rogue on average probably wants 5 to 6 power to spend during her activations. All of her abilities are nice, but she won't likely be getting to do all of them in a turn. Most of the time you'll probably be looking at a charge into her builder, then depending on how much power she has left, she can do another builder and then a superpower, or just show off her Southern hospitality. At the moment we have an idea of what affiliation she may be a part of, but nothing actually confirmed. X-Men is to be expected, and she would actually really benefit from Scott's a decent bit helping get the cost of her spender down. There is also a chance for her to be an Avenger, member of the Brotherhood, and A-Force. And personally, I think those last 2 are where I really hope she does end up, as Magneto would love an in-affiliation 4-threat character who can both benefit and activate his leadership. And likewise, A-Force could always use another flyer for She-Hulk, especially since for 3 power, Rogue can charge and make a special delivery all in one swift move. While Rogue would also, again, benefit from that extra power gain. Now, while AMG didn't confirm any affiliations for us, they did show off a couple of tactic cards that she comes with. Mind If I Cut In is a great bodyguard-esque card that forces Rogue to become the target of any attacks where she could be the legal target, unless your opponent pays 1 power, which will either be draining them of their power supply or force some attacks into Rogue with her overall pretty durable stats. She also has Pardon Me Sugar, which she can use during her activation. When she does, she can pick from one of many different mutants to gain their powers for a round while giving them a prick of damage. What is really cool here is that it can be used on friendly or enemy models, so Rogue can go in, get a free point of damage, and steal a power. What's also really nice about both of these cards is that it doesn't cost Rogue any power to play, which is very helpful given her power-hungry nature. So now that we are done with Rogue, I can talk about Magik. She has the alter ego of Ilyana Rasputin. She has 5 stamina, moves medium, is size 2 for 3 threat. Her physical and energy defenses are both at 3, while she has a higher mystic defense of 4, so about the average 3 threat character frame. Her first attack is an energy one called the Bolts of Ashtur. It has a range and strength of 4 for no cost, and this attack nets you 1 guaranteed power. This is everything I like to see in a 4-dice attack, and the fact that it has a really long range is nice. Her next attack is also a builder though. Her Mystic Soul Sword has a range of 2, strength of 5 for no cost. This one will gain her power equal to the damage dealt, and on a wild, the attack gains one of my favorite abilities on a builder with Pierce. That will allow her to change one of your opponent's blocks, crits, or wilds to a blank. And since this is a mystic attack, it gets to do the double duty there a little bit, as very few abilities that allow blanks to count as successes work on mystic attacks. Then finally we have Darkchild. It is also a mystic attack, but with a range of 3, strength of 6 for 4 power. After the attack is resolved, the target character gains the Bleed and Incinerate special conditions, but maybe more importantly, when you're counting successes, you get to add skulls in both the attack and defense roll to your total successes. So while 4 power is admittedly kind of expensive for a 6-die attack, 2 guaranteed conditions and some extra consistency with counting skulls helps balance out that high cost, especially when there is only one other thing for her to be spending power on, and that is her first superpower, Limbo Step. It is an active power that has a cost of X, and it says that you can spend up to 1 to 3 power. Then you may place this character within X of its current position, where X is the amount of power spent. And thankfully, you can only use this once per turn. This ability is really good. Sure, Hawkeye's Hook Arrow or Miles' Web Line is a better rate for the range 3 place, but only by 1, and with this ability you can spend less if Magik just needs a small bump instead of the big leap. So this can act as a charge, a third move, a bit of repositioning, and so on. What is really nice for her in particular is, unlike Hawkeye or Miles, she has a range 4 attack that guarantees her power. So she can get her normal 1 power for the turn, double attack with the bolts, and have 3 power for her place effect every single turn. Finally, it should be noted that she is also the Sorcerer Supreme of Limbo. It will be usable when she is defending against the increasingly popular Mystic attack type. It says for each wild in her defense roll, you can change one of the attacker's crits or hits into a blank, and for each die changed this way, Magik will gain a power. So it may not come up super often, but when it does, it can be rather big, especially against a lot of these Convocation characters who need specific results to trigger their special abilities on their attacks. Well, those kind of attacks probably shouldn't be pointed at her in the first place, but if they do, good for Magik. Her injured side is the same as her healthy one, so there really isn't a lot of stuff on her card that makes her situational, and she likely won't be replacing characters like Valkyrie or Baron Zemo, as they mostly fill a very similar role as mobile damage dealers. But Magik brings different attack types into the conversation, as well as her use of a range 4 attack that guarantees her some power. She does have that typical 3-threat frame, which means that from time to time, like most other 3-threat characters, she's going to get blown away by a dice spike, but otherwise she has a pretty solid kit for a 3-threat character. Darkchild is a great spender that can really bust up about anyone, including some of those higher Mystic defense characters, because their dice just might give you some skulls to work with. And the double conditions is always welcome. Her defensive tech is only becoming more relevant with the Convocation's release, Blade and others having Mystic attacks being thrown into the mix. She also has a tactic card of her own, Journey Through Limbo. It costs 3, but it allows Magik to choose another character that is within range 2 and place it within range 3 of itself. And additionally, that target gains the Incinerate special condition. So while the cost is a bit high, the effect is really nice, especially since it can be used to either help or hinder. What I mean by that, Journey Through Limbo doesn't specify allied or enemy character. So this can be used late in the round to get someone off an objective and incinerate them, but it can also be used to teleport an ally to where they need to be out of activation. So despite a bit of a high cost, the ability is both flexible and impactful. I don't think this card is stapled to her like Heroes for Hire is to Iron Fist, but it's pretty close to that level. Finally, for affiliation information, she, like Rogue, has a lot of question marks about where she could go, but we do at least know she is a part of the Convocation with their plethora of tactic cards and leadership that cares about Mystic attacks. She looks to be in a pretty good home there. There is a good chance that she also ends up with either X-Men or X-Force, maybe even both, but where I would really like to see her is the Midnight Suns, and if the new video game is any indicator, we might just get to see her in that lineup too. All in all, while Magik might not necessarily replace Valkyrie or Baron Zemo as your mobile 3-threat damage dealer out of Affiliation, in Affiliation and even those times when you're just looking for a Mystic attack, she's going to be a solid choice to put into your rosters with the flexibility that she brings, especially with her tactic card, because it doesn't have to be played during her turn. You can wait for somebody else to activate and then teleport them off that point, and I'm just really excited. Now, that is all I have for covering these 2 latest mutants that we have seen. I do want to say thanks to all the members of the Guild Hall who are supporting what I'm doing with the channel. Before I close out, your support continues to encourage me so much, and if it weren't for you all, I wouldn't be able to do everything that I have. If you are interested in supporting the channel, check out the links down in the description for the Guild's Patreon page and TRex Games page, where you can use that discount code to let them know I sent you their way. And as always, to everybody watching, thank you for doing that. It really does mean a lot to me, and until next time, keep on gaming.